Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Today we'll see a very important pronunciation concept in French, namely la liaison. Depending on the context, la liaison can be mandatory, forbidden, or optional. When la liaison is optional, it is more often used in the formal language. In a few minutes, we'll see most of the rules that apply to la liaison. Especially if you are a beginner learner, I would advise you not to try to memorize the rules, and instead use them as a reference if you have doubts. It is impossible to list all the rules and the exceptions, but I'm gonna show you most of them. So let's start. Before talking about la liaison, we need to define l'enchaînement, in order to distinguish la liaison from a simple enchaînement. Let's say we have a word in which the last consonant is always pronounced. A word such as cher, which means dear. When the word cher is followed by a word that starts with a vowel sound, let's say ami, which means friend, we will pronounce the two words linked together. Cher ami. This phenomenon of linking words is called enchaînement. Let's see a few more examples. Un bouc, a goat. Un bouc émissaire, a scapegoat. Un bel accent, a nice accent. Partir avec elle. Here we have two enchaînements. The first one between partir and avec, and the second one between avec and elle. As you might have guessed, l'enchaînement enables fluidity in the speech. Now that we saw l'enchaînement, let's view la liaison. Like the enchaînement, la liaison also enables fluidity in the speech. The difference between the two is that in la liaison, the final consonant of the first word is normally silent when the word is pronounced by itself. Let's take the same example that we used to introduce l'enchaînement, cher ami, and make it plural, chers amis. Notice that the S of cher and the A of ami produce the sound za, even though the S of cher is silent when not followed by a vowel sound. We say cher professeur without pronouncing the S, but chers étudiants, dear students. La liaison is phonetically linking a final silent consonant of a word with a vowel sound of the following word. Let's see a few more examples. Des animaux, animals. Les oreilles, the ears. Un joyeux équipage, a happy crew. Un gros ours, a big bear. De beaux habits, nice clothes. When making la liaison, the sound of some consonants will change from their original sound. The final D in grand and con will sound like a T. Un grand avion, a big plane. Quand il neige, when it snows. That's also the case of the S and the X that will sound like a Z. For example, pas à pas, step by step. 2 heures, 2 o'clock. In nasal vowels such as on, the final N will be pronounced. Bon appétit, plein été, or plein air, moyen âge. And lastly, in rare occasions, you might even hear the G pronounced like a K. For example, un long hiver instead of un long hiver. But that's applicable only to formal speech. Depending on the case, la liaison can be either mandatory, forbidden, or optional. La liaison is mandatory between a determiner and the noun that follows it. For example, des arbres, trees, un intérêt, an interest, or aucun intérêt, no interest. 3 enfants, 3 kids. Les amis, or mes amis. Quels autres pays avez-vous visité? Or, quels idiots? It is also mandatory to make la liaison between a determiner and an adjective. For example, les autres gens, the other people. Mon ancien collègue, my old coworker. Between an adjective and the noun that follows it. Petits hommes. Tout élève. Les fines herbes. De bons amis. Le gros arbre. Les vieilles affaires. La liaison is mandatory between a pronoun and a verb. Nous avons reçu des cadeaux. On aperçoit son nombre. Peut-on y aller? Il vous a abandonné. Tout est clair. Vous êtes nombreux. Je les attends. Ont-elles faim? La liaison is mandatory between two pronouns. Nous en prendrons deux. We'll take two. Allons-nous-en. Je pense que tout y est. Nous y sommes allés. Vous en avez mangé. La liaison is also mandatory between a short preposition that has only one syllable and the word that follows it. Dans une heure. Sans opinion. Chez eux. Sous une table. For longer prepositions, la liaison is usually optional. Except for à travers and selon, you cannot use la liaison with them. La liaison is mandatory between an adverb and an adjective. Très honnête. Very honest. Moins aimable. Bien intéressante. However, for adverbs ending in ment, ment, la liaison is optional. You can say drôlement enrichissante or drôlement enrichissante. La liaison is mandatory in many expressions. De temps en temps, d'ores et déjà, de plus en plus, petit à petit, tout à coup, de haut en bas, droit au but, quant à elle. And finally, la liaison is mandatory in some compound words. Un porc-épic. A porcupine. Les États-Unis. The United States. Now that we have seen when it's required to do la liaison, we'll see when it's absolutely forbidden to do la liaison. You cannot link two words with la liaison if there is a pause between them. For example, here, you cannot say femmes, enfants, hommes. You have commas that separate these words, so you need to say femme, enfant, homme. Tous appréciez cette musique. La liaison is not allowed after the conjunction et, and. For example, un garçon et une fille. You cannot say un garçon est une fille. It will sound like the verb être. Doing la liaison between a singular noun and a verb, or between a singular noun and an adjective, is also forbidden. Le chat est sorti par la fenêtre. Un repas infect. You do not do la liaison with foreign words that start with Y. For example, un yacht, les yogourts. And you do not do it with oui, ouistiti, whisky, un, huit, huitième, onze, and onzième. La liaison is forbidden within some compound nouns that are in plural. For example, les porcs-épics, les arcs-en-ciel, les moulins à eau, des vers à soie. You cannot say des porcs épiques. That sounds very strange. You don't do la liaison after verbs in the second singular person in the present indicative tense. Like tu manges. You cannot say tu manges avant midi. You have to say tu manges avant midi. And finally, you cannot use la liaison with proper nouns such as names of cities or people. Paris est une belle ville, and not Paris est une belle ville. Charles est arrivé, or Thomas est arrivé, Nicolas est arrivé, Georges est arrivé. All these names end with an S. When la liaison is not forbidden and it is not mandatory, you have the choice to use it or not. You have the choice to use la liaison or not to use it between a plural noun and an adjective or a complement to the noun. For example, chanson entraînante or chansons entraînantes. Histoire effrayante or histoires effrayantes. Les personnes en question or les personnes en question. Les gens en deuil, les gens en deuil. Les bateaux à voile, les bateaux à voile. You have the choice to do la liaison or not between a plural noun and the verb that follows the noun. Mes amis étaient présents. Mes amis étaient présents. Les couleurs allaient bien ensemble. Les couleurs allaient bien ensemble. You have the choice also between the auxiliary avoir or être and the past participle. For example, in the passé composé tense. Nous avons aimé notre voyage. Nous avons aimé notre voyage. Ce sujet est abordé dans le chapitre suivant. Ce sujet est abordé. La liaison is also optional after many verbs. For example, il était heureux or il était heureux. Chantez avec nous or chantez avec nous. We can also do la liaison with verbs ending with er in the infinitive form. For example, j'aurais préféré manger ailleurs or j'aurais préféré manger ailleurs. You have the choice to do la liaison after quand, mais, soit when it is repeated, and dans. Quand il est arrivé, elle a été soulagée. Il voulait conduire, mais il avait trop bu. Il est soit inattentif, soit indifférent. C'est la personne dont elle parlait. I don't even know if I did la liaison or not. I just read the sentences. You also have the choice with adverbs ending with ment, M-E-N-T, and we discussed that earlier. Drôlement intéressant or drôlement intéressant. Now that you know most of the rules that apply to la liaison, it is up to you if you want to use it or not when it is optional. However, you have to be aware of the correct spelling of the words. Sometimes people use imaginary consonants to do the liaison. Let's hear a song from 1970 in which Barbara, a famous French singer, does la liaison with a T that doesn't exist.
Dans les paniers d'osier de la salle des ventes, une gloire déchue des folles années 30 avait mis aux enchères parmi quelques brocantes un vieux bijou donné par quel amour d'antan.
If you made it up to here, this means that either you fell asleep or you liked the video. So if you didn't fall asleep, please click on the like button. As always, thank you for watching and see you again. À la prochaine!